Good afternoon and welcome to Kitty Talks. And today, I can just feel it, I'm going to have an amazing interview. I want to introduce you to Skip. He is the Miracle Man, and you will discover why, because we're going to tell you over the course of the next hour. But Skip travels around the world inspiring people to live their best lives, and he's on a mission to make health and vitality completely natural and normal. So Skip, thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you very much.
I'm very excited about this interview because, like, literally, you burst through the screen. As soon as we first started talking, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a good one. I can feel it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, what you just said is one of the timeless bits of wisdom that I learned from Bruce Lee. Don't think, feel. When we feel, then we're actually back in tune with our body. We're back in tune with what we get to go through life in. And a lot of us are going through life. And I was one of those people where our bodies are numb and we haven't got the body-mind connection. Something goes wrong with us. And before you know, we go into some so-called expert that could be giving us a chemical that can have side effects. And I'm not saying don't do that stuff, but what I am saying do is learn about your own body, learn about your own mind, and learn how the miracle is inside every single one of us. For us to be able to, I don't want to sort of tell people to suck eggs here, but for us to be able to see, for us to be able to touch, for us to be able to taste, for us to be able to feel, for us to be able to move, for us to be able to create, for us to be able to breathe, what put this stuff together? Now, just to sort of like kick things off, we all go around life with these things. And this, these smartphones, compared to, let's just say, 50 years on the planet, what we're doing nowadays is mind-blowing. For us to be able to, just 50 years ago, if 50 years ago, which, you and I wasn't even on this planet 50 years ago, if our parents started going around saying, guys, you're not going to believe this, in 50 years, we're all going to be walking around with things like this, and we're going to be able to communicate to people in real time, our friends, our family, our work colleagues from the other side of the planet, and we're going to be able to see them on these things. You're going to be like, oh my God, my parents have gone cuckoo. They are so living in dreamland. Now, the truth is, if you're not living with this stuff, you're left behind. Yeah. Now, what connects us, like, my computer here is not connected to anything. There's no wires in my computer. So what's allowing you and I to have this conversation? There's something called Wi-Fi out there. Now, 50 years ago, if we were going to try and understand the concept of Wi-Fi, or 500 years ago, we'd have got burnt at the stake. Because they said, Wi-Fi? What is Wi-Fi? Well, it's this non-physical thing. What do you mean non-physical? Well, you can kind of connect everyone on this, like this World Wide Web, and this Wi-Fi, as soon as you got the code, you can get connected to the whole world. We'd have got burnt at the stake. Whereas now, if we don't have the Wi-Fi connection, we can't get connected. And what I'm talking about now is when I say the miracle is within us.
Yes.
We're a mind, we're a body, and we're a spirit. Most of us have got bodies that are numb, bodies that are having aches and pains. Most of us are having thoughts that aren't serving us. And the connection to spirit, forget it. And we wonder why we're waking up not loving our lives, not loving ourselves, not loving the people that we're connected to. So, I feel grateful to have gone through some of the challenges in life to be able to learn this stuff that is ancient wisdom. This is timeless, knowledge or information that when you apply this to your life, you start manifesting your dreams. You can take something from the fabric of your mind and you can literally pull it into this reality and you can enjoy the process. And when that starts to happen, you understand that this game of life is the best game in the whole universe.
So you're traveling around the world, aren't you? You're making a film at the moment. You're doing workshops. You're helping people. You're helping people heal, from what I heard, like from your last workshop. Like, tell us about the woman who had this incredible breakthrough at your last workshop. The lady you were telling me about who couldn't necessarily hear.
Yeah, so I have the fortune of running these retreats all over the world. And what happens on the retreats is things happen on these retreats where I don't know happen at any other courses. And I'm really not saying that. And I say to everyone who comes, if you know anyone else who's doing stuff like this, or even better, let me know and I'll pay you all your money back, because now you've been part of my research team. Because what I've learned is through my own life experiences. This is me plugging into, you call it universal energy, divine wisdom,
source
energy, whatever you want to call it, God, whatever the name is. The name doesn't describe it, but it's an energy.
Yeah.
And when we plug into that energy, which is non-physical, we're physical beings. We've got physical bodies. But without plugging into, so what I was getting at is humans created this.
Yeah.
Now, which is amazing. This stuff, we're intelligent. For us to be able to create this is amazing. But what created us? This is the super cool thing. And when you can start to open yourself up to that question, actually, what did create us? Obviously, there's time, there's evolution, there's all these things. But for us to be in a human body, there is such a design, an infinite design behind this game of life, that when you get how vast it is, how complex it is, and we will never be able to understand it. But what we can do is we can connect with it and we can allow it to teach us. So, and this is going to sound so woo-woo-y, I can't even believe I'm sharing this. Okay, so energy, let's think about the sun, because I'll explain what happened to this lady and how it happened, because it wasn't just me doing the work. People, they, as you say, they call me the miracle man, and I get people coming up to me now, oh my God, I've got this, can you heal me? And it doesn't work that way. We have to be involved with the process. We have to be open to the healing. If we want a miracle to happen, first thing is we've got to believe that miracles can happen. That's the first thing. So as the sun beams down energy to this earth, it doesn't just beam down heat, it beams down information that the plants capture. Those plants then are connected to the energy of the planet. Because if I ask you the question, do you think our planet is alive, yes or no? Your immediate answer is going to be
yes.
No doubt about it. Of course this planet's alive. And when we eat that food that the planet feeds energy to, and then it weathers different seasons, which as human beings, we have to learn to weather different seasons as well, because it's not going to be sunny all the time, as we all know. Sometimes it's going to be pouring. Sometimes the storm is going to come. And sometimes, your home is going to be ripped out because of a natural disaster or because of a disaster in life. And if we don't learn to weather those storms, then we can become victims literally for the rest of our lives. And as the sun beams down all this information, all this energy, when we then eat that food, we're not just eating food, we're eating information, we're eating energy, we're eating live nutrients, life force that feeds this body. And this stuff on this planet wouldn't be able to grow if it wasn't for the sun. There would be no life on this planet if it wasn't for the sun. So we have to learn to connect to these energies, appreciate them, not do what the mass market is saying and what the press is saying, stay out the sun, you go in the sun's going to give you skin cancer, and you're putting fear in people and then putting fear in them and making them put chemicals on their skin, which those chemicals are going to get inside the body and have another effect on them. So when we understand that we are so strong as human beings and we have so much potential, and this is what all the ascended masters did, people like Jesus, Muhammad, but all of these great people, they would see the greatness in other people. And I've gone, through some of my challenging experiences, I have learned from these masters. And one of the key points is you've got to see the greatness in other people. Usually when someone stands up in front of us, we're seeing the problem. We're seeing what's wrong. We're seeing that person is causing grief in our life. And instead of our eyes being the viewers, what happens is they become projectors on our brain. And based on what we think we're seeing, we project the image inside ourselves. And usually it isn't an empowering vision internally. So I've learned to turn that whole thing around, and I really see people's full potential. I usually see way beyond their own limitations. And we had this lady come on the retreat. It was over in Spain, and we were watching and one of the first things I said was, I knew that she was born not being able to hear. I knew that she'd had about, I think it was 6 operations throughout her life to try and hear again. And after each operation, she could hear a little bit, and then the hearing went again. And she got in, I think it was in her 40s. They basically said to her, look, we can't do any more operations. You've got too much scar tissue there. You're going to have to spend the rest of your life not hearing. And what you've got, we can't fit a hearing aid And with that, obviously there's big disconnection from other people, from life, not being able to join in certain things. And she said she really, really struggled. And it was day 2 on the retreat. We wake up early, we go to bed late, and I activate people like they've never been activated before. And we're watching the sun rise out the sea, and I'm taking everybody through a sunrise meditation, because you can just see something and watch it and have no effect. But if you've got somebody guiding you through a certain process, connecting you to the same stuff that I've learned, miracles can happen when you get connected to this stuff, because you go beyond the limitations of the mind. They can enter certain frequencies, and in these frequencies, magic happens. And it's just like, if you've got a radio, you turn your you listen to Radio 1 FM, you listen to Kiss FM, you turn your dial, and you go through these different frequencies, and you can listen to different channels. There's no different in life, So
that channel cleared her hearing. Is that what you're saying? That kind of channel or the energy that came through cleared the problems she had with her hearing?
So what we do on the retreat is to explain the full process so you get it. So we live in a physical body. 90% of most diseases on the body are blocked tubes. We're blocking our tubes. When we have blocked tubes, our eyesight starts to go. When we have blocked tubes, our hearing goes. When we have blocked tubes, our heart can stop. Blocked tubes stops the blood flowing around the body. It stops the nutrients, the oxygen, it's all the good stuff flying around the body and feeding the body what it needs.
Yeah.
And when you've got blocked tubes, you can't eliminate the waste, and this waste can build up in the body, and suddenly, you might have a lump come up somewhere. And that's basically a garbage disposal unit within the body, where the body hasn't got enough energy to get rid of the waste.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I have to do is I've got to clear people's physical bodies. So there are processes that we go through where we do what the ancients, like Jesus and Muhammad, all these people who they fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Why would they do that? It wasn't because they couldn't afford food or they didn't have food. They did it to get this spiritual connection. Now, in short, about 70% of our internal energy, like when we chew food, when we swallow the food, when our body is now breaking down that food, pulling those because all food is the shuttle system to be able to get the nutrients that are in the food into the body.
Yeah.
So when your body is trying to pull these nutrients out of the body, it's using a lot of energy, and then it has to eliminate the waste. So if I stop people eating,
of course, the energy is not stored, being used up.
But I'm feeding them live nutrients every day. We've got our own food's got our own nutrients. I give them, live juices, cold pressed juices every day. So suddenly, their energy levels fly up into like leads where they've never felt this type of energy before. And while all this is going on, I'm cleansing their emotional body, because a lot of people's physical pains in their bodies are not physical pains, are these trapped emotional energies.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to move these negative emotions out the body, and there's 49 processes that I take people through in a 5-day retreat. It's insane what we do.
Fantastic.
And you turn back after the 5 days and you go like, how did we just do all that? It's like we literally compressed decades into 5 days at this event. I'm cleansing the emotional body. I'm cleansing the mental body as well. I'm connecting people to their light body. This is like the light energy that the sun beams down. And we have a light body inside us. And I've proven it. When I snapped my Achilles heel, it didn't make sense for me to get, because when you snap your Achilles heel, you lose part of your tendon. The tendon recalls up the leg.
Yeah.
And they have to pull it back down again and stitch it over. And when they stitch it over, you lose a certain amount of distance in your tendon.
Yeah.
Now, what they told me was that you're going to get maybe 70% strength and flexibility back. Now, that's just dealing with the physical body. But because I know that there's more to us as human beings than just this physical thing, I start dealing with the light body. And they told me it was going to take 9 months, and no word of a lie, 3 months later, I'm bringing acrobatics to Le Bohème, which is an opera at the Royal Albert Hall. And I bring out the whole marching band, and I'm back flipping the entire stage of the Albert Hall. No pain, no nothing, with 110% strength and flexibility. So I started to play on this stuff with me using my light body and realizing that, wow, there is way more to us than what we get taught at school, what our governments are telling us, what we learn on TV, on the news. So using this is what I applied, at the retreat on this lady. And about 20 minutes into yoga, because the way, and a lot of the truth around yoga has been missed. Yoga's been around for thousands of years. yoga should be the foundation of people's lives, where you learn how to breathe correctly, you learn how to move your physical body, and you go up to where there's tension, but then you breathe into the tension and then you
release it.
And it allows you to, to navigate, around your challenges with more flexibility in life. That's why we do it. It gives you a flexible mind, gives you a flexible body, and it allows toxins to move out of the body. So about 20 minutes into this yoga session, she just breaks down. She collapses on her knees and she's crying. And when we do the sharing, I'm like, right, tears of joy or tears of pain? I read into it, and when you plug into these higher states of consciousness, you read people like we read a book. The body speaks volumes to us. There's so little information communicated in words. And when you connect to these energies, the information just comes straight in. And I said, you're going to have to share this with the group. I said, because now I'm watching a miracle happen. And she told the story and she said, you guys know I can't hear. I can hear the waves now and I can hear Skip speaking. And she left. She came back for a second retreat and she now has perfect hearing in both ears.
Oh, my God.
What?
My God.
This is insane what's going on here.
Yeah. So there is no doubt, Skip, because I can just feel the intensity and the passion coming out of the screen, which is amazing. So there is no doubt that you are following in your passion purpose. Yeah. So, absolutely. But what I'm really interested in Kitty Talks is your life story. So that you didn't just wake up one day and, okay, I'm going to be sharing this stuff. Like, how did you get where you are today? For people out there watching and listening, what you're doing is incredible. But how did it start? Like, I know, because you and I have known each other for quite some time, I know you were always a very talented acrobat, gymnast when you were younger. And I also know that you had a catastrophic event. Did you break your back when you were, what age?
This is when, so basically, I'll give you the bullet points because I've learned all of my greatest lessons through the biggest challenges I've gone through in life. And what I found is that when you start to ask empowering questions to the universe, to our creator, to whatever you want to call it, that what happens is your next step is going to come. And when I was a kid, I had so many challenges. I was in a coma for 3 months with pneumonia, cut from head to toe with eczema, was always on antibiotics. My first set of teeth just rotted away. Went through a family breakup at 11 when, families didn't really get divorced then. I had to go and choose, I've got dad over here, mum over there. At 11 years old, who do you pick, who you're going to live with when, they're meant to be a team? And all of that stuff had really bad effects on me, and was, as I said, on antibiotics all the time, chronic asthma, chest infections all the time, allergies to nuts, to pollen, to dust, to animals. Wow. It was, and no one else in my family had this stuff. It was only me. But there was always something in me that when I asked the question, why is all this stuff happening to me? There was always this little voice was, you're going to learn how to get through this. And when I started to realize that, I was taking loads of medication, and when my first set of teeth rotted, they thought it was because of all the sugars that I was taking. And I remember my dentist having to go at my mum, and mum said, he doesn't eat sweets. And he goes, I know what sugar rot is, and this is sugar rot. And it was all the sugars in the parent. So I remember having a thought at such a young age thinking, I don't understand. I'm taking all these medications for these problems.
And they're making you.
And now my teeth have rotted away.
And what age was that?
Oh, this was when I was a kid. My first set of teeth, so it was those
milk teeth, yeah.
And I remember, thinking it doesn't make sense. And what did it teach me at that age? Every single medication, and I'm not telling people not to take medication, I could get put away for that, but please know that every medication has a side effect. And what I tell people to do is please read those side effects and read if it's worth going through those side effects and taking that drug, or is it better that you start to actually feed your body what it needs, you stop the poisoning, you start to change your lifestyle, because what I've learned is where we end up in life is down to our lifestyle choices. Always. And most of us don't want to take responsibility. We want to go and see a so-called expert who's going to fix us. And it doesn't work like that. We have to learn how to fix ourselves.
And look after ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I was told, because I couldn't breathe, I got told that to not do any sport, because every time I tried to do sport, I'd go and have an asthma attack. And they said, you got to stop all this stuff. Anyway, so we stopped it. And one of my best mates, he went through a lot of the sicknesses and illnesses that I went through, and he's actually now Captain America's and Troy's stunt double. So, and he and our family, we're close. And it was his mum who ran a swimming club and a gymnastics club. She goes, I got asthma and he needs to get into sport. And we were saying, but they told us not to do it. And they said, well, if he doesn't do it, he's going to get weaker.
Yeah, of course.
I started to do gymnastics and I just fell in love with it. And I got tipped to be the youngest kid to go to the Olympics for gymnastics. And of course, I loved it. I went in and I told the school. They had me up in assembly saying, oh my God, Skip's going to go to the Olympics. He's going to have all this cool stuff happen. And then 2 weeks after that, my mum goes and leaves my dad for my gymnastics coach. So there goes the family break. So there you go. Oh, no. So I go back into school and I tell who I thought was my best friend. And I said to him, look, Mark, I said, I don't know who to talk about this stuff to. I said, me and my sister keep crying. My parents had just split up. And no one we knew at our school had parents had split up. We lived on a small estate in a small town, in Norfolk. And before I knew it, that had gone around the school. And I was the weirdo whose parents couldn't stay together. So I literally went from hero to zero. And, from that, people pick on you, they bully you, they mock you, they prod you. And because of all the emotional stuff, my weight went up and down, up and down, up and down till I got to about 18 years old and I was fat. And wasn't able to do gymnastics anymore because my dad stopped me doing it. He goes, well, I'm not having you go in that, in that place with that guy. That guy's ripped our family apart. And, and I was then with a father who was complaining all the time about life. And all the sicknesses, all the illnesses, everything came back. And I remember, just like going outside, and I hated life. I hated life with a passion. Where I hated people, I would do horrible things to people. I'd do horrible things to myself. And I just remember looking up and I just started speaking to something. I knew there had to be something out there. And I just said, look, I hate life. I don't want to be one of these people who hates life. What has to happen so I can at least wake up in a body I'm proud of? What has to happen so I can wake up being someone who loves life? I see these people on TV. I see these people, and even if they are happy, I hate them because they're happy. But I want to be one of those people who are happy. What has to happen? And the message came through real clear. Go and do what you love. And I went, there's nothing I love. And it was like, you love gymnastics. Now, here's where intuition can guide us. And it always will have the opportunity to guide us. But whether our body is alive and switched on, or is the body numb? Because that intuition can come and it can say, right, we're going to go this way. But then the mind will say, no. Everyone else is going this way. We need to be like a sheep. Let's follow everyone because it's safer there because that's where everyone's going. And you can get this, this guidance on intuition, but the mind can then override that inspiration, something that's come from within.
Yeah.
And I ended up making a decision to go back to gymnastics. It didn't make any sense. I was meant to be going to, university to get a degree, and all my friends went off to university. And cut a long story short, I had a coach who is now one of the British coaches. Did a year with him, but at the end of the year, because I wasn't ready to compete and do all that stuff, I ended up having an accident in the gym. So basically, I lost the weight. Was happy that I was in a body I was proud of, but I hadn't dealt with the emotional stuff. And the emotional stuff started to eat me up. My own mind started to eat me up because it's like, oh my God, I'm nowhere near ready to compete. I'm not going to be a champion. I'm wasting my time. I should be getting a degree. And all this stupid chatter in the mind just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And I took that on a piece of equipment one day, as we do. You know, we take our stressors with us in life, and whatever we take with us is going to have an effect on us in that moment, because whatever vibration we hold, whatever energy we hold, we're putting out there, which is because we live on a planet where law of attraction is a law just like gravity. What we put out, we get back.
Yeah.
And I was putting all this victim stuff out there and had an accident in the gym, swinging around a high bar, landed back on the bar, broke my back, and got told I was never going to walk again.
Oh my God.
And that was really where life started to teach me, because for 4 months I became the worst person to be around. I didn't want people to come visit me. You know, they put me in a machine, so I'm just moving like this every day in traction just to keep the blood supply going up and down.
Wow.
And I couldn't escape me. And in that challenge, if I could have killed myself, I would have killed myself. You know, I really wanted life to end, because when suddenly you get your physical body back and you start to play in your body and you really start to enjoy it. But what I've learned is that life isn't about being great in one area. Life is about creating balance around all of your life, because this happens with a lot of celebrities. You know, I coach a lot of celebrities now, and when they come to me, they have made it to the top of their league in one area.
Yeah.
The rest of their life is totally out of balance, and they get masters. They become masters at putting on a face, putting on a mask, but then behind the scenes, their life is in, you know, turmoil. And that's where I was at. But I couldn't escape me. Couldn't walk, couldn't move, couldn't do anything. And life was very dark. You know, when you can't escape yourself, when you can't go for a walk in nature, where you can't just go down the gym and do something, or you can't just get away from things, you learn a lot. And my mum came in one day and she says, look, I heard about Bruce Lee. And you know what she actually said was, she said, hey, I've heard someone who broke his back. He came back fitter and stronger than ever, and he was in traction just like you. And I was like, who? And she goes, Bruce Lee.
Wow.
Mum, all fake, get out. You know, I have a lot of fire in me, as you get that. But obviously, when you learn how to channel the fire in the right way, you know, you can make amazing things happen. But then my fire was destroying everything. And she goes, no, this hasn't been in a movie. He really did break his back. He was in traction. And it was like a light went on inside. And it was like, and this is the first point, when we're in that darkness, the only thing we're looking for is like a shimmer of hope. Because when you're in that darkness, when you're depressed, or when you're angry, or when you're frustrated, or when you feel like you're backed up against a wall and you're in a corner, and someone walks up to you and says, well, come on, just be happy. You're like, get the out of here, you know, because you can't access that. You want to be able to, but the frustration of not being able to access that fires off things inside that don't feel good.
Yeah.
And when I started to realize that this did happen to Bruce Lee, and I got hooked on it, and I was like, Mum, bring me everything you can on Bruce Lee. You know, and I just started to study him like crazy. Like, I did not want to sleep, because I started to learn that I'm now being fueled up. And I learned back then that we live in this vibrational universe where everything has a vibration. You know, you can look at concrete under a microscope and it's moving. There's a vibration there. And the higher that frequency can be, the more awareness we have of the truth of what's going on. And most of us don't have this awareness because we're living in this tunnel vision through life. And we pick this stuff up from news, from soap operas, from from magazines, from all of this stuff that comes on planet Earth, but it keeps people trapped in a certain frequency, because what you put in is what you're going to get out. And
what you believe is what actually happens.
Huge, absolutely huge. And that's one of the things that Bruce Lee, he changed within me, because my first belief was, if he did it,
you can do it.
So can I.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he can recover from this. And, you know, we know how belief systems change people's lives. So when I started to really study Bruce Lee, so much. I think I knew Bruce Lee better than his wife, and I never even met the guy. And he opened me up to his philosophy, when he was talking about, be like water, express yourself, don't think, feel, all of these like simple sayings, but they're timeless wisdom. And it led me on to this belief of, and I heard this saying, and I had this saying with me all the time, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're probably right. And every time my eyes, there was that saying, and I was like, I can do this. And what happened was this belief that I could recover came back.
Wow.
And as soon as I realized that Bruce Lee was studying certain people like Confucius, people like Krishnamurti, these incredible people that have walked this planet. And they all talk about the power of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And that when you get all three working in harmony, that's when magic can be born. And it can be, and you don't have to think about this stuff. It's done on a feeling. And, if you're like saying you're creating an amazing piece of art, you don't think about it. You just get in flow with it.
Yeah, you channel it.
Yeah, you channel it, exactly. And through that journey, I just opened up my eyes one day and I just knew that day I was going to walk. And this thing just breathed through me, like, you call it channeling.
Yeah.
I sort of use the expression that, if you open yourself up, life will literally breathe through you and use your vessel as a creative god or goddess that you are. And through that, you can make magic happen. And this thing just breathed through me and said, right, you're going to walk today. And I realized that the mind can play tricks on us. And that came through intuition. And I learned to follow that intuition there and then, because, to me, it was like, if I don't literally create a mantra to literally encode this in me, my brain is going to talk me out of this real quick, because it didn't make sense, because we had medical expert after medical expert after medical expert saying, you're never going to walk again. We've seen this injury before. People don't recover from this. And again, that's just another belief system.
Yeah, totally.
But these belief systems that these people can, that these so-called experts can impose on us when we're in a vulnerable state, take on their belief system.
Yeah.
And what we know about life is, you just have to look at the Olympics. Every single Olympics, we're getting faster. We're doing more and more and more and more. So we're never going to hit a barrier. The idea is we get stronger and bam, we smash through whatever is stopping us from, living our dreams. Not in a destructive way, but in a creative way that serves a greater good. So I just created this mantra, and I was like, I'm going to walk today. I'm going to walk today. I'm going to walk today. And it started to feel really, really good. And this nurse came in and she goes, "You're going to what, Skip?" I said, "I'm going to walk today." And she goes, "Look, Skip, since you've been like, all this Bruce Lee stuff's come up, you're not around. We really like being around now. We like, coming in. But you have to understand, you're not going to walk today because, how many more experts do you need to see? And I don't want to see you disappointed." I said, "I'm not going to be disappointed because I'm going to walk today." I said, "Now get me out the machine." And they wouldn't get me out the machine. We had to bring my parents up. We had to sign forms to say that if anything bad happened, it was our fault. And they basically pulled me out of this machine, picked me up, stood me up, and I'm holding these ballet bars, but I've got nurses either side of me. And I just, we talk about gratitude, and there's no doubt that gratitude holds a really vibration, but you can't think your way to gratitude. You can't say, "Right, I'm really grateful that I can breathe. I'm really grateful that I can see. I'm really grateful I've got loving parents. I'm really grateful." It doesn't work. You have to feel in. And when you haven't walked for 6 months and you don't believe, for 4 months of that, you believe that you're never going to walk again. And suddenly you're standing and, okay, there was 2 people holding me up. But you learn gratitude. You learn how to appreciate this vessel that we go through life in. And the human body is a miracle. I mean, it's so complex. We're smart as human beings. We can design stuff like this, but we can't design a human eye. No. The eye's making like millions of distinctions every single second. And what goes on inside the human body is beyond our design. We can't design this. So there is an intelligence behind this. And I asked these nurses to let go of me because I said, you holding me up now is making me weak. You've got to let go of me. And they went on, Skip, if we let go, you're going to fall down. I said, I've got this. I said, you've got to trust me. I've got it. And I'm holding these wooden ballet bars that they brought in. And this is where I just looked up and I just spoke to our creator. And I just said, look, whatever breathed through me and said that today I'm going to walk, I believe in you. I'm open for you. Now is the time. And out of nowhere, one leg started to
move
and step down. And, I'm still holding these bars.
Yeah.
And another step came. And on the third step, my mum just dropped to her knees. And I'm getting welled up now, even thinking about it. And, she's crying, I'm crying. And it just broke me out of that out of that trance. And, at that point, this is like ironic with life. Like the door swung open and this surgeon came in and he was just like, what's he doing at that machine? He should get back in that machine now. Totally cut the whole atmosphere. And I just turned around to him and I said, I'm never going back in that machine again. I said, I've learned what I needed to learn in that machine. And I said, I don't need to go back in there. And I never went back in the machine. They got me lying down again. I went home and the next day I got up and I did 6 steps. And the day after that, I did 12 steps. The day after that, I did none. And it was like, I suppose it's like the property ladder. It goes up, but then it dips. And it can go up. And over time, if you look at it all, there is a steady climb in that. And because I just didn't create the inner resistance, what I learned was stuff that it humbles me. I'm so grateful to have gone through those challenges, and really grateful now to be able to teach people this stuff. Where it's like giving them the code to Wi-Fi, but you give them a code to our creator.
Absolutely, and I can totally see how going through an amazing experience like that, horrendous but amazing at the same time, would make you so passionate about helping other people, like you said, open themselves up to what is truly possible. It's phenomenal, isn't it? They do studies, don't they, around terminal cancer patients. When they tell them that they're terminal, they obviously then go into, that's what they believe will happen, and that's what happened. And when they don't know that they're potentially terminal, they can live because it's the power of the mind and the belief.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, Deepak says this now, people aren't dying of the diseases anymore. They're dying of the diagnosis of the disease. Yeah. And it's so important that we learn how phenomenal we are. We think we're weak. We're not. We think that one simple thing happens and all life stops. And the only reason why that happens is because we haven't learned how phenomenal we are. And, going through those challenges and the story gets better because, from that, I was doing this stuff every single day, meditating, stretching out the body, even when I was out there, even though I couldn't walk great distances, I can still stretch. I can still, do things to actually start to allow these pains that so many people get neck pains and it's tension in the neck and you have to move this tension through the body. And when you do this stuff consistently, and I mean like every single day, and people say, oh yeah, but I'm not disciplined or I'm going to procrastinate. Well, that's just rubbish, because if you have an interest in what you do it because you're interested.
Yeah.
And no one really forgets to put their clothes on before they leave their house in the morning.
Or brush their teeth.
Or what?
Or brush their teeth.
Yeah, or brush their teeth or do any of that stuff. So the key thing is to find out what you love and to do what you love, because then you're going to do it whether then you don't need motivation. And it's like, I ask kids all around the world or adults all around the world, I say, right, honestly, and I'm lucky I get to coach, tens of thousands of people every year now. And I always ask these audience, right, let's be honest now, hands up, how many of you need to get motivated to go and work out? Always, minimum 70% of the hands are going up in adults. I ask the same question to kids in schools. They don't even get the question.
No, they're like, natural for them.
Is it because they're still on instinct? But what we started to do is we started to dump stuff in our brains which doesn't serve us. And your brain's just like Google. You know, whatever you type in Google is what it's going to give you back. Whatever you don't, you know, you type pain in Google, you get a whole bunch of stuff on pain. You type love in Google, same search engine, but now you're searching for love. Whatever you dump in your brain is what it's going to bring back up to the surface, you know, when we get challenged. So it's so important that we put the right stuff in the mind. And every day, you know, I'm putting the right stuff in the mind. I'm moving my body as much as I can. Even sometimes when I was lying, when there was too much pain to get up, I could still stretch in certain positions. I could still visualize myself doing things. And with this sort of ancient wisdom, or this timeless wisdom, or these forgotten secrets that people talk about, it's not what you do every now and again. It's what you do every single day. And by me doing this stuff every day, you know, the strength came back, the balance came back, the flexibility came back, the hunger for life came back, and it came back in ways where I could never have imagined. Because when I basically got to the point where I was able to run, jump, climb, you know, be free within the body, we just sat down with a family one day, and Mum just said, "Look, we've just literally watched a miracle happen. You're independent now. You're looking after yourself. What are you going to do with your life?" And I just asked a simple question: what do I love? And this should be the only question that people ask themselves. What do I love? Not what I'm being told to do, not what I must do to fit into a certain group of people. What do I actually love? Because when you do what you love, time just disappears because you're in that flow state. So I asked the question, you know, what do I love? And it just came through bigger and stronger than ever. Gymnastics.
You went back to it after breaking your back. Oh my God.
I didn't even answer the question. And Mum just said to me, she goes, "You better not be thinking what I think." I said, I have to do this. She goes, "But what if it happens again?" I said, "I know how to recover." I said, "There's no fear now." I said, "There is literally no fear." And cut a long story short, we hooked up with this guy, this Bulgarian guy. He was 2 times world champion. And about 18 months after that, I'm standing on the podium being given the gold medal for the English Sports Acrobatics Championships.
Oh, my God.
And what happened through that was, you know, an understanding of we are so powerful, like so powerful. But the only way we can access that power is to activate ourselves. And most of us are not activating ourselves. We're destroying ourselves every day with the stresses that we take on in life. And like 20 odd years ago when, you know, people were talking to me and they were saying, "Look, this is amazing. How did you do it?" And I start talking about this vibrational universe 20 years ago. People are like, yeah, he's got a great story, but holy cow, he's a freak. And I had to stop talking about it because people weren't ready for it. Whereas now, 20 years on, and I then went through the whole entertainment. You know, I started to bring acrobatics to some of the world's biggest shows. You know, but you know, dealing with people like bringing acrobatics to like operas at the Royal Opera House, bringing acrobatics to shows that were being put on at the Royal Albert Hall. You know, people filling stadiums, 100,000 people, their fans, and my job was to bring acrobatics to these events. Working with people like Andrew Lloyd Webber and Richard Branson, you know, really cool people in, you know, around the world. And what happened was, again, you know, I was loving what we were doing. We were really successful, and this was kind of just before Cirque du Soleil really kicked off. So people hadn't seen acrobats in shows. And I was the one bringing acrobats to, you know, TV commercials, pop videos, all this stuff, and loving it. But then all of a sudden, this thing starts to come up within me, and it's like, right, your time in the entertainment industry is done now. I'm like, no, wow, I love this. Loving it. This is awesome.
It's your little voice at this point. This is your little voice that's kicking in that most people choose to ignore usually.
Yeah. And I was like, well, what am I meant to be doing? And it was like, you know, you're meant to be bringing these teachings to people. And I'm like, oh God, you know, I got slated for that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to be mocked. I've got a really good reputation. People love what I'm doing now. But when you get your Wi-Fi connection,
your calling,
you're calling to what you're meant to be doing, you can't avoid it. Or you can avoid it, but then life is going to suck.
And the voice gets louder and louder until the universe auto-corrects you almost.
Yeah, and it's like this quack, 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 and eventually you have to shut the duck up.
Yeah.
So you know, I listened to it, and you know, before I knew it, I was in this world called like the personal development world, and really learning that where people are at, it's like we're trapped because of how we've programmed and how we've conditioned ourselves. And before I knew it, almost before I knew it, I'd literally jumped industries from being in the entertainment world to suddenly being in this world where I was going around speaking, and that's where you and I met, the Yes Group, and I was doing all these talks for free, just going around, sharing little bits of what I'd learned with people. And I literally just said one day, and it was actually at the Norwich Yes Group, and I just said, look, people are saying to me I should run my own retreats. And I said, we've got a villa over in Spain. I can literally take 6 people. That's it. It's going to be me and you. No other speakers are coming in. Me and you for 5 days. This is the price of it. This is what we're going to go through. Who wants it? And before I knew it, they were just jumping at me from stage to take them through this process. And I had no way of taking their money. I hadn't even put the event together. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real. This is actually happening. And the thoughts are, how am I going to keep, what am I going to give these people in these 5 days? And when you talked about channeling, just like, with these things, we can upload and download, things on our phones, on our computers. Well, as human beings, we're the same. We can upload and download things from the universe depending on what tools, what information we need to learn. And cut a long story short, I started to channel stuff into these events, and what came through me, it just blew my mind. It was like I was being used as a puppet, and I was open to it.
So what advice would you have? People have listened to this interview and maybe they're struggling, they could be going through some mental health issues, they could be having some physical problems. You said activate. You also said, how people can activate themselves. Can you give us 3 kind of simple things? Obviously, this is a process and a journey, but maybe three things that people can do daily to start them, to turn themselves around, to start this activation process.
So basically, if we're having any stress within the mind, you can't think your way out of that stress. It's totally impossible. You have to get back in the body. And when we're children, if you notice, children genuinely are a lot more happier than most adults until they get to a certain age, and then they start to dump that stuff in their minds. And what do children do? They're moving all the time. They're climbing, they're crawling, they're jumping, they're buddying up with other kids. So the first key thing is that you've got to find some type of fun movement that you enjoy every day. Not movement that you've got to be motivated to go and do it. Now, that might be something as simple as finding a song on that you love, sticking yourself in a room where no one can see you, and start shaking your tushy like you don't care. Moment when you're moving your body in fun ways, our Creator installed something within us that we can allow ourselves to. We release these endorphins in the brain. And that makes us feel good. I haven't met anyone who feels good and is depressed at the same time. So you go from the brain and you hand it back down to the body. And it has to be a song that you love, because can a song jolt us emotionally, yes or no? Of course, yes. And if a song that we love singing along to, even better. When you're dancing and you're singing and you are free, those 3.5 minutes will be a game changer. And you've moved the body. And if people can't move their body, a simple thing is to have them just breathe deeply for literally about 2 minutes. And a simple thing that, another physical injury that I done recently when we were making the movie, I fell about 60 feet down a waterfall and hit this rock at the bottom, snapped my tailbone. It went from a C shape to an L shape.
Oh my God.
One, your tailbone should be straight down the body, and mine went from being straight down the body over to one side, and this wrist, the bone totally snapped and was sticking out the side here. So there had to be healing that was done for that. Now, afterwards, I went back to the waterfall. We carried on filming, and obviously they wanted to operate, but before that, we had to get the bones back in alignment, and following the next step. We found this guy called the Miracle Worker. He basically broke all my bones back into shape, no operation, there's no anesthetic. And I was on stage 3 days later doing an event in Malaysia for 1,000 people. Doesn't make sense for where most of us are at. And one of the key things that I could do, because I couldn't, I could literally lie down and I'm like, and it looks mad. But what's happening is I'm moving the body. I'm breathing. The number one thing that the cells in the body need is oxygen. And most of us aren't breathing correctly. Most of us are only using about 20% of our lung capacity. And that's it. So number one thing we need is oxygen. And so one of the first things I would say to people do is
breathe, oxygen, dancing. So get their body moving, get themselves chilling out or get themselves activated that way and get the life force running through them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for listening to Kitty Talks. Be sure to head over to our kittytalks.com website and become a member of our exclusive club, and you'll get free interviews and access to our private Facebook group, exclusive webinars and secret success interviews. See you there.